Ultimate Spider-Man has finally concluded with the final volume of stories. This final volume covers the final act where Spider-Man finally returns to New York, where he and the gang takes on Kingpin for the one final time. This final volume gives us our first look at one of the best Venom designs of all time. Holy, this is good. We go through some emotions as the character arcs wraps up. Our gang returns to New York. There are some heartfelt moments. Peter and MJ patch their relationship up. And we also get one of our biggest twists, and that is the gang war finally taking over. Mr. Negative knows about the gang and all their plots, so he finally takes a strike against Mysterio's. Bomb goes off, and they all get wiped out, except somehow this bomb and this death combines with magic and turns them into this new form of Mysterio. Now, before I can turn into an old man and start complaining, I really want to get over a couple of positives I really like about this volume. One of the first ones is the character designs. When Stacy, begins as a child in the series, it's like she's about as pure as you can be, a little girl. And over the course of her journey, she's now here, transformed into this ghoulish, nightmarish creature, monstrous looking thing with a skull and all these extra arms. She's floating around, and she has lost a little bit of her individuality, combining with the other Mysterios. Mysterios have become this one single vengeful revenant haunting the people who wronged them. It's great character design. It really is. It is Gwen Stacy's character reaching her final end as a monstrous creature. While Peter and his family goes through trials and overcomes them, Gwen essentially ends up destroying her family in her chase of revenge. And it's all reflected in the character design. It's really good. I love it. Mr. Negative was teased early on, but he now finally comes into play. He shows his politicking skills. He's talking big to Kingpin about hey, careful, I'll possess your mind, posturing a little bit. And we find out that he's been planning for a moment to kind of get with everybody so he doesn't just attack Gwen. He attacks Peter and his family, he attacks the paper, he attacks everybody all at once in a single ambush. He's going on the offensive and he's setting up the stage for the finale. I really like this Mr. Negative. I think he looks cool. I think he feels threatening because he's very active. This is something weird about the series, and that is the fact that even though there's a lot of talk about how Kingpin is everywhere, Kingpin knows everything, Kingpin's gonna do everything, he doesn't actually do anything. He kind of just sits on it. He's like, yeah, I know about the paper. And he just lets it be. I think Mr. Negative is almost arguably more effective Kingpin than Kingpin is. I do think on the Peter side, I have had the criticisms about the Peter and MJ's characters. I talked about them in the last video. Overall, I feel like MJ is way too passive of a character. She doesn't really do much. She just sometimes says, I'm not happy with this. But it's like she doesn't really do anything. She doesn't take a whole lot of action. She's just kind of there, which I thought was leading up to something. They were going to have a proper falling out in Volume 4 or the finale. Something where it's like she takes actions, but no. It doesn't really lead to anything. There's a lot of talk about, a lot of characters, Uncle Ben talks about, I'm ready to die for this. Are you, Peter? Harry is they're going to come for you. Are you ready? There's Gwen being are you ready? And then Peter is yeah, probably. And then it's I expected there to be a cost. Usually Uncle Ben maybe dies, maybe Harry dies, or, one of the kids get hurt. Or what I was kind of most expecting after Kraven is that it's they're going to come for the kids and Peter has to eventually kill. Kraven, he got a freebie. He got lucky. Next time he has to take a life to protect his family and it eats away at him. Or maybe even he dies. Something where there is a real cost. There isn't enough of a cost to it in the end. They just walk away. Repair their relationship that was barely damaged, realistically speaking. Again, there's no actions. And MJ just I don't know. I just this version really has left me cold. And I'm very disappointed by that because I was so excited to see that eventual confrontation. And I don't know. I feel like it never went anywhere. Which... this topic leads to me to the negatives, which is why my tone on this series has changed quite a bit. I like this series, just to be clear. I think this is a good series all the way through the end. I think Volume 4 is actually better than Volume 3. Volume 3 is the bad one, and Volume 4 is actually an improvement. It's a lot more exciting, a lot more things happen, it's a lot more active. I really enjoy it, and all the way through I like this series, but I'm going to get into my negatives, and it really comes down to, I think, the main thing I'm thinking about is the setups and payoffs. I will constantly keeping an eye off, being oh, this is going to come into play. One of the biggest ones was Gale. There's an entire issue dedicated to MJ and Gale hanging out, having family troubles, and I was oh, this is weird, why is Gale here? And I was oh, Gale must be important. Why? And it's oh, Mysterio is like, oh, she's working either for Maker, Kingpin, or Mysterio, or possibly another faction. And it's like, oh, she's infiltrated the family. Her beef with MJ and Peter, like that, maybe that led to some sort of resentment again. And it's like, oh, that's what turned her into the villainous path or something. And it's like, oh, like this is gonna be relevant. And maybe she is fully villainous and she's just pretending to make up with MJ, or more likely she is maybe like, went down the wrong path because of young, hot-headed decisions and now is stuck in it. So she's like regretting it and it's like going through this internal conflict of wanting to make up things up, but she's kind of working against her own family, but she also wants to help them. So she's just looking for that opportunity and will be turned. So it's like, oh my God, there's already a thing going on. Like this is issue 12, the last issue before everything goes down, right? So it's like, oh my God, all this talk about like family being stripped away. This is about Gale. Peter has already been played. He doesn't even know it, that the enemy is inside the house. Oh my God. And then it's like, no, Gale never pops up. I'm looking at these final issues. It's like, where's Gale? Like, what's going on? Like, I feel like even if she appears in Endgame, I don't see how Endgame could have enough time to make that satisfying. And I do feel like even if it's there, it feels weird to spend an entire issue here for that. It is odd how little Gale there is, considering how much time was spent on that. And again, it's a good issue. I really enjoyed it, what it brought to MJ, and like made the family feel alive, but you didn't have the time. There's a lot of stuff like that. Now, maybe I was just stupid. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I was probably the only person who was obsessed with Gale being so important and having so much time dedicated to her. Maybe I was stupid, and I honestly can't tell. Maybe I just assumed too much. The people were talking early on that, oh, Hickman, he plans for everything. Everything is planned. So I kind of took that idea and ran with it, being like, okay, everything matters. I fully expect that Hickman to live up to that. So maybe that was unfair expectations. Could be. But again, considering how problematic the series pacing ultimately is, and I do think there's a lot of stuff here that just goes underused. When you have such a stuffed series, you really need those Chekhov's guns to go a lot of guns on the walls without them ever going off. And here's more of them. Sandman doesn't pop in, so it's like, okay, why did we spend an entire issue on Sandman? That's weird. And again, any of these could come into Endgame, like Harry and Gwen take over the New York. So it's like, I'm guessing that's going to be an Endgame thing, but it feels very unsatisfying in the Ultimate Spider-Man book itself. We spent like half the book with these two characters. I feel like there should be more payoff to these two. It was not worth all of that time, and especially because there was a lot of talk about them like having a conflict, not agreeing on how to deal with the enemy, and I guess they never fall out over that. It's kind of weird. It's like you'd think they would have a falling out or something, but it's like, no, it never really comes into play in a satisfying way. My major issue with the ending is just that it's very underwritten. A lot of these setups that we spend so much time on just never go anywhere. Ben and Jonah, like, why did we spend so many issues on them? Role in the final issues is just to expose Kingpin, but it's like you could have done that in like one as a B plot. They did not need the entire issues. They're very static characters. They don't have arcs. Ben has all these talk about like he's ready to die for this. So him just walking away, it just feels weird. And it's like, I don't know, man. It just feels like they were going for something and they just don't. Like, I feel like it's like ultimately a lot of the setups and payoffs just aren't there. Like the volume 3 failed a lot of this. Like it's like, when the characters should have been at their most erratic and paranoid and emotional, they're not. There's really not much difference between Peter in issue 16 versus like issue 1 versus issue 24. There's barely an arc, really. It's really small. It mostly feels like, it really is like, it's like when I look at its actions, I don't feel like a huge difference. Volume 1, maybe a little bit, but after that point, he just basically doesn't really feel like he's growing much. The final issue tries to talk about how he now understands the value of family, and like that calls back to issue 1, where he was, like not fully on board with it, like bored with life and all of this. And it's like, okay, there is an arc, but most of the book is not about that arc, doesn't deal with that arc, and that arc felt like it was dealt with a long time ago. So it just feels weird. Like he slowly opens up to MJ, I guess, in like the final arc where he finally tells her everything, but it's like, it doesn't feel like this was all a grand secret from MJ, so it just doesn't feel like, oh, this really was worth it. There wasn't enough conflict between them. Or even though MJ feels like she's calling him out a little bit at sometimes, it felt like it was just building up to a real falling out, a real conflict. But no, that minor, like, hey, that's a little annoying, that was it. That was all we got. It's very underwritten. There's a fear of cost to these things. And I think that's like a thing that is a little bit separate from the setups and payoffs. Cost. There should be more sacrifice, and there isn't. The only ones who lose are Harry and Gwen, but like Gwen is like walks that off, and it's like the sacrifice isn't like ideological. It's just that Gwen is partially kind of dead. She's kind of a ghost now for some reason. I don't really understand that. I don't know. I wanted more of that ideological, that real representation of the characters coming into conflict. Harry will not go all the way. That was a big talk. Like Harry is like, will do whatever it takes, but Peter is heroic and will not. And it's like the idea seems to be that inspires Harry to be a better hero, but Gwen is not getting that inspiration. So I expected Gwen to be, wanting to, like, I don't know, go blow up the world. And it's like, Harry would be the one who has to stop her. Peter's power is in inspiring others, inspiring Harry to do good. That's what I imagined the point of that relationship was. That Peter, by being a good person, brings Harry from the brink, and that allows Harry to stop Gwen from doing something really horrific, like blowing up New York or something. In fact, in the regard, there's a lot of stuff that I'm just really confused by. Like, what was the point of the AIs? Like, it's like the Richard kind of has an AI, which, is kind of a surrogate father relationship, but it's like unnecessary. It doesn't feel like very impactful. Like, to the characters to have like his dad whispering in his ear, especially because the real dad shows up and is whispering in his ear. So they are working together. So why did you need the AI too? Now, the other side of it is Harry. Why does he have a Norman AI? Like, that doesn't come into play in the finale at all. Like, he's still whispering to Harry. It feels like, oh, this is going to go somewhere, but we're done. Again, Endgame probably is going to play into this somehow. But for Ultimate Spider-Man book, it does feel like, okay, we under-delivered here. I understand that it's a way to show Harry's inner insecurities. Like, I understand that part. But again, I feel like it needed to tie into plot or something. Like, I don't know, Norman AI should have turned into a Terminator or something. In Ultimate Spider-Man specifically, it is massively disappointing. And I think this finale, I think it rings hollow. It's like, I think the character development of Peter and MJ and the entire family is not there. Peter was not panicked enough for a lot of this series. Craven like beats the man pretty hard, right? And the game series plays into this. It shows these moments where it's like, oh, like Mole Man says something like, oh, like after, are you okay doing this after what Craven did to you? Something like that would change a man, and it's like, no, it didn't. Like, it didn't do anything. It's like, what was the point of that? Like, where did it go? Nowhere. It feels massively disappointing to me. Now, even with all my complaints, I still have a lot of love for Ultimate Spider-Man. Like, I do not think this will last for a very long time. While a lot of people right now love it, I don't see people coming back 15 years from now being like, oh, that's such a classic. I think this one pales in comparison to what the original accomplished and how much people still read that original run. But I do think there's a lot of value in works like these. Like, even though this one I think does crumple in a very disappointing way, there is a lot of value in art that is for the moment. Spider-Man issue 1, honestly, is probably the happiest I've ever been reading Spider-Man issue. It genuinely is. Like, it's beaten triumphance over issues I read when I was a kid. And you can call it hype. I do think there's a lot of quality here. I think this is still a good book, even with all my complaints. But it is something where it came out in the exact right time when I needed it. And it is such an important book for me. It is very, I think for a lot of us, something we all needed. And I think there's a lot of value in that. So despite me being so disappointed where this series actually went to, I still hold it very near and dear to my heart. I don't think it loses any value despite its ending. Maybe longevity, but longevity is overrated. So here's to you, Ultimate Spider-Man. You made me happy.